Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Got a 2012 Rav 4. It's got the big 2.5, and a lady brought it here because she says she wanted to get a quote on an instrument cluster. Evidently had it at another shop, and they told her they needed an instrument cluster, but they don't do programming, so they, recommended that she go somewhere else. She called me. I told her I wanted to look at it first because I found it pretty hard to believe that it needs a cluster. Been working on these things for a long time, and I've never seen a cluster go bad in one of these. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a bad cluster, so I want to bring you guys along. I don't know what we're gonna find, but I suspect it's not just a bad cluster. Why do I think that? Well, I think that because the cluster is lit up when I drove it in. Matter of fact, every light's on. So it starts and runs. Every light in the dash is on. The odometer does not accrue any mileage as she goes along. It's been, stuck at the same mileage for a while. And the only thing that works is the fuel gauge, and she doesn't even know if that's accurate. So she said she's just been keeping it full because it seems to just kind of stay at full. Nothing else works. Car's running now, speedometer, no nothing. The other thing I noticed is when I plugged in the Alto, it didn't auto ID. So that's got me a little sus. So I went ahead and just typed in the VIN manually, and that's sitting over here, and I haven't done a scan yet, but we're gonna do a scan now and see what's up. Oh, well, that's interesting. So these all being gray means there's no response. Wow, that's really bizarre. Let me make sure we've got a good connection with the scan tool, because it's interesting that it starts and runs and drives, but we can't talk to the ECM and none of these other modules. What's that? Mobilizer, occupation detection, tire pressure, and airbag. None of them have codes in it, flagging codes saying that they can't talk. So that's kind of bizarre, unless there's a broken wire between, the data link connector on 6 and 14, and the wire's not broke here. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's make sure we just don't have a crappy connection there. I've seen that before, particularly on older cars. Sometimes our inspection machine will do this, and we just grab old Bob here. Uh-oh, it doesn't look all crappy. Okay, so let's see. 6 and 14 are blinking, so we definitely have connection here. Let me plug the scan tool in. Now, just because they're blinking, that just means there's network activity, or there's activity on those two. Doesn't mean that it's good activity. It just means there's something happening. There's some kind of switching rate. So let's go ahead and just reread this. Make sure it wasn't just a connection issue here. Nope. So that's kind of wild. I can't believe that. Let's do this. Let's see if the network is intact. It would make sense that it is open. All right, let's get an ohm meter here. Before we do that, let's pop at the hood. Whoa, oh, lady. Woo! Essence of mouse under here. The whole hood blanket's gone. They're pretty tore up, and you can see. Oh yeah, there's bird seeds over there. Oh yeah, I thought I could get a little whiff of that in the car. That's really leading us probably in a different direction. I was a little suspect of that. I could smell it in the car a little bit, get a little essence of mouse, but yeah, clearly there was a big nest here. All the hood blanket material is gone. I don't know, can you guys see that? Let me let the hood down a little bit. No, you can't. I'll have to move the camera. Ding down. Before we get too excited there, yeah, there's a big old mouse turd there, a rat turd or something. Let's unhook the battery and just see if that physical layer of the network is broken. I assume it probably is. Let's see, is this one the negative? It looks like it. Oh, wasn't that super tight? All right. Make sure that you unplug the scan tool from it. Oops. Click happy here. 220 ohm resistors on our data network. parallel, right? Yeah, I guess in parallel would be 60 ohms is what they typically are. We're going to go on pins 6 and 14, and that's what we expect to see. We expect to see 60 ohms. Or in this case, 121 ohms, 121.2. That's broken. Well, look at that. We're on the hot track to success. Not really. We just identified the network as being open. It's open, right? Yeah, 120. There's two 120s. I don't know. We don't do a lot of network repairs, but this appears that the actual physical layer of this network is definitely open circuited. Knowing what we see, I think before I even get too far with this, folks, we're gonna go old school visual inspection because of mices or mices or mice. What's the plural of mice? Mouse is mice, right? Yeah, mice. There's that hood blanket. All right, I'm gonna grab a flashlight, and like I say, before we even get a wiring diagram or anything, let's just have a little peek around here. Looking around under the hood, inside the car, under the dash, common spots, you know, under the seat, behind the glove box, in the cubbies in the back. Nothing really jumped out to me. Don't see any evidence of, you know, shredded material or mouse crap or anything like that. So I didn't see anything there. I don't really see anything here. Obvious, you know, wiring harness just laid open. We're gonna take a quick peek underneath it. I just put it on a lift, so let's raise it up, have a visual underneath, and then if we don't see anything, then we're gonna have to come up with a different part of the process here. I've got Luna over there giving it a CAT scan. I didn't see anything. Looked underneath. I think she's hot on the trail, so we'll see. We're gonna have to print out a diagram for the data network to see who runs where and how we can start breaking this system down. Hopefully we can see, oh, she's on to something. She's gonna get it. Hopefully we see where the terminating resistors are so we know which end to go to, or hopefully I can find that in service data. So I'm gonna look on that, and then we're gonna devise a plan and work the plan. So here's my diagram. Now, let's see here. Let's make some sense. So here's our data link connectors, 6 and 14, and they go up to this junction, this E96 junction, and then they break off to the different modules, AC amplifier, but there's some asterisks here. Okay, automatic AC, manual AC with without smart key, 2 ARFE, skid control, engine control module, power steering, yaw rate, main ECU, certification ECU, 4-wheel drive, airbag, that kind of stuff. I want to go through and find which ones we have, which we don't have, because I'm thinking the easiest thing to do, because we know we have a break somewhere here, something's wrong, either one of the modules that has the resistor in it's bad, or it's actually physically broken, the wires, which we suspect because of the mice. I'm gonna scratch off what we have and what we don't have. Like for example, with smart key, we don't have smart key. So we don't have this wire, or this wire, or this wire, or this wire, or this one, or this one, or this one. Okay, that was all smart key. Ours is 4-wheel drive. Let me finish this off, figure out which AC amplifier we have. Doesn't really matter because they come from the same pin, so that really doesn't matter. And then figure out what these other, ours is this one here, the 2 ARFE. That's going to be the big 2.5. Let's, I'm going to figure this out, get these scratched off, and then we're going to see, well, we should look to see where this is. E96. I did print us a color diagram too, which didn't print out really nice for me. Here we go, E96. Enhance. This is my magnifying glass. What's that say? Left end of dash, E96. So hopefully that's accessible. That's it. Let's keep motoring here. Here's the final plan here of what the final thing looks like. I looked in service data and I did find the ECM houses a 120 ohm resistor and the combination meter. So that's going to be useful in our diagnosis. I say next step is to find E96 junction connector, which we determined lived somewheres on the left end of dash. So the whole plan's gonna suck if we can't find that thing. So let's just see where that is. If we can't find that, then we've got to approach this in a little different fashion. You just hanging out in the background?
Hanging out.
What, you on your phone? You look super dark.
I just want to go lie in the sun and just
go on, don't be stopping to lay in the park.
Lay in the
right
parking
there.
lot, like
right there.
with my cat. Where
if you want to. So what's up?
That's what's up. Waiting to make you lunch. Guess it's almost time.
It's time. It's 1:15.
You hungry?
I'm always hungry. We're high on the trail with this baby.
Hot on the trail.
You get a whiff of this thing?
Is it gross?
Yeah, it smells like mouse.
I don't want to smell it.
It's good.
No, take your word for it.
All right. Well, there was a big mouse nest under the hood, you see. Look at that. And there's a mouse turd right there. See that?
That's like a rat turd. That's a big turd.
That's a big old turd. And he was eating some sunflowers. Nom, nom, nom. Turned them into that. Big old turd. So I suspect we're gonna find some mouse damage.
Good luck.
Hey, good luck to you.
Hey.
Supposedly E96 right there is right there, the little green connector. This is the dash assembly, so let's go find that. I think this is gonna be a little bit difficult, folks. I did find, just before I went to lunch, I did find those connectors. By those connectors, I mean I accidentally found another one that we need first. So right underneath the dash here is the connector, that E96 that we were looking for. I think that was the name of it. Where's our wiring diagram? I'll find it for us. It's taped right to the wires that run back from the data link connector. I'm gonna shine the camera up under there and let you guys see them. And I also found connector A44. It was another junction connector that was up taped to a harness a little bit further up. I think our best approach, we can approach it a couple ways. We now know where the terminating resistors are. So once we unplug it, we could do a network resistance and see which one we have. Do we have the one in the cluster or do we have the one in the engine controller? The other thing we're gonna do is because we have the Altel here, I grabbed a couple scope leads for it. We're gonna unplug it and we're gonna plug Bob back in here. We're gonna see what the data network looks like. I did hook the battery back up, so we're gonna look at 6 and 14, see what it looks like on the scope. I assume it must be corrupt somehow and look terrible, I would bet, even though the little LEDs here were flashing. So we'll have a look at that, and that's the other approach we can do, is once we unplug, I assume this is how this works, we unplug the comb from that junction connector, we can go down each module, if you will, that's on that connection and see what the data network looks like on each individual module. I assume we're going to find one that's screwed up. We're going to find a break here somewheres, or I mean, we could have an actual bad module. I mean, maybe the cluster really is bad and somebody got lucky making that guess. So I don't know. Let's see if I can show you without bumping the mic too much. Let's try to reach under here. So here's one of the connectors. That's I wrote on it with a Sharpie. You might not be able to see it, E96. And then right up above it there, you see that gray one up there I wrote on? A whatever. I don't know. I wrote something on it, but I can't see it because I'm out here and you're down there. Let me show you where I'm at. So I'm sticking my fingers up under there. So there's the one connector. So I found this connector, A44. And then this E96. 22 pin connectors, both of them. One through pin rows 1 through 11 on the top, 12 through 22. So the whole top row starts at pin 12. So we got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All the whites are on one side, and then all these different colored wires starting over here with blue on pin 1. So these two are directly across from each other, the 1 and 12. And then I imagine 2 and 13 probably are. Yep, so 2 and 13. 3 and 14. So it'll make it pretty easy to test. We almost don't even need to look at a wire diagram to run down through it. Like I say, we can unplug it. All right, let's unplug this junction here. Ties it all together, and then we can do a resistance check on these wires. 3 and 14, we should have 120 ohms, and then we can come down to pins 1 and 12, and that should go through, and we should have 120 ohms there. So we can start by doing that. I don't see any reason why not. And then that might give us direction which way to head, because that might shortcut us from having to check anything else. The other thing we could do too, we could always, where 2 and 13 come in, we could always jumper those to any individual module or any individual leg here and see if we can talk from the data link connector. That would be kind of curious too. I jumped into 6 and 14, key on, engine off. Not looking good here. Let's see here. Let's change our speed a little bit. Let's go to 200 microseconds per division. And let's just pause this little guy. Something obviously wrong here without even getting into, I hardly ever use this scope here. Oops. Without even really getting into the nitty gritty here. This is not a good network waveform at all. So we should be from 2.5 to 1.5 volt on can low, and from 2.5 to 3.5 volt on can high. We're nowhere near that. Obviously, there's something wonky going on here without overanalyzing this. We're not gonna get too deep into it because we know our network is broken. But yeah, clearly just looking at it, there's something pretty wonky going on here. So just wanted to show you guys that. I unplugged E96, and I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't, but it's just a comb, is what we refer to them as, C-O-M-B, comb, where it just connects all the network wires together. It's just a big jumper is all it is. So that's disconnected. Now, being where this is, as you've seen, I'm just gonna call out what I'm doing. So how about this? How about for our first test, we do a network resistance check. I've had to walk away from this car so many times, I don't know if we've already talked about this. I'm gonna go on pins 3 and 14. We're gonna check resistance, and we expect to see 120 ohms. Now this is for it goes through that other junction, that A44 that we found. Goes to the ABS, so the skid control ECU. I assume that's ABS on Toyota, and then the engine controller. So let me get our test leads, and I'll find pins 3 and 14. We'll jump on them and see what we see. I'm using our AES Wave U test kit. I've got that front probed into what I believe is number 3. It's the third one in, 3, which is blue, right? Yep, blue. Light blue. Or blue, I guess. L means blue on a wire diagram. We're gonna go with resistance. What do we see? 123.1 ohms. So that's good. We can check that box. How about this? How about while we're right here, let's just grab our scope leads, because we should be able to stick our scope leads on here. I'll make sure I didn't have my meter wrong here. Let's get a ground. We'll plug Bobby back in. Come here, Bob. The B.O.B. Your battery operated boy. Never mind. Let's see here. Now let's go to, we'll pop out of here. We'll go to our oscilloscope. It's searching for a device. Once this finds its device, KOEO. Oh, this is, I think, looking better. Let's turn on channel B. We'll set that on a 5-volt scale. I'll show you guys this here in a minute. Bingo, bango. So these are inverted from what we had before. Can high is now green. Let's set our trace here to Let's do a couple hundred milliseconds or microseconds. Let's set up a trigger. Come on, trigger. Trigger. And that name of Willie Nelson's guitar. Ooh, trigger. Stop that. I love Willie Nelson. Let's see. Got all distracted here for a minute. So here we are. Here we're looking. We don't even have to pause it to look at it. We're looking at good data transmission right here. So this is great. Let's find a writing apparatus. I brought one right here. It's from Wilbert's Team PRP, the Premium Recycled Parts Network. We know the wiring. We know all this is good. We don't even have to go to junction A44 anymore. The ABS is good. The engine controller is good. Okay, let's jump up to pins 4 and 15. That's going to be the power steering. Wait a minute. Let's skip all that because we've got our 120 here. Let's go to pins 1 and 12. Let's go on 1 and 12. I'm just gonna move them. We're gonna hot swap them right here. 1 and 12. Let's see. Oops. Let's see what's happening in that vicinity. Oh boy, I knew we were going to find a problem here. Look at your data network communication there, old son. It ain't right. Am I right? So let's do this. Let's pop out of here. Hit OK. Let's go back to multimeter. We're going to go back to resistance. I'm going to key off. Shut the key off. I'm going to unplug that, and I'm going to plug in the 2 meter leads here. Let's make sure our leads are good. Our leads are good. Let's plug them in. Oh yeah, open circuit, old son. Oh, high circuit. We got a little bit of connection there. We don't have the battery unhooked, but I expect to see somewhere closer to 120 ohms. We no longer have to make any more checks. At least, so here's where we're at. Let's recap. Right now I'm on pin 1 and pin 12. Okay, so this comes over to whatever this says. I can't read it because my face is too close to it. I don't have my glasses. We're not seeing this 120 ohm resistor. Something here is open circuited. If that's E97, what we could do, the next best step, use your words, we could find E97 or E69er. I love that one. E69er or E97. We need to find one of those two so we can break the network down even more. We know that we have no connection from here down through all the jiggly stuff here. Interesting. Okay. Gosh dang it. You know what would be nice? It'd be nice if we had another one of these that we could cut a couple of them pins out, shove this all back together, and then we could talk to all the other modules except for airbag, 4-wheel drive control, and combination meter. I'm gonna go look to see where E69er is. Hopefully it's somewhere nice, or E97. So let me go look on that. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. I know it's kind of a difficult show to show, but when we checked the engine controller and we saw a perfect, network, gibberish there on the scan tool, but then we don't see it coming out of pins 1 and 12. Remember, when we hook this thing together, this hooks them all together. So when somebody's corrupt, it just pulls it all down. So, trashes the whole network. Wild that this car starts and runs and drives, but it does. So let's keep on keeping on. E69er. Oh, never mind. It's just a rock. I thought I saw a mouse turd. Surprised me. Get the floor mat out of here. It said E69er. Somewhere's over here. A 20 pinner. I'm assuming. It's probably taped to the harness like the other ones have been. It's a 22 pin gray junction. We gotta pull up our threshold. See if we can't get our fingers there. Oh yeah, baby. Nothing broke. And then I took the nut off that. What? I don't see a gray. No mouse turds. E69er. I was hoping it was right here. I thought it showed it kind of in this area. So I got all excited. I'm like, this back here, we're gonna set the glove box down. Any personal info in here? Nope. Set that on the floor mat. Where's my E69er? Oh! I thought it said it was gray. Never mind. Here's your problem, lady. Here's your problem right here. Your wires are frigged up. There's a broken wire. You little sons of frig holes, eh? Oh, this is a junction. Never mind. I thought it said gray. Honestly, I didn't read it. Here it is. Here's your problem, lady. Frickin' mouse. There's your broken wire. Seems like I'd be more excited at this moment. Them little bastards ate it right tight to the connector. Frickin' frig holes. Yep. Well, now what? Now what do you do, Rocco? The problem is, well, actually, no. Is this a problem? As I say, the problem is we don't know which wire. Yeah, we don't. We don't know which white one belonged to which white one. And that only becomes a problem if somebody's doing some pinpoint diagnosis in the future. Which, if they got to this point and they saw the butt connectors that are going to be installed, they would say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. Because I don't know if I'm going to go through and figure out, well, yeah, I guess I can. We can figure out who belongs to who. Because they're going to be twisted, right? They're going to be a twisted pair, I would imagine. So we can just untape up a little bit further. Yeah, look at that, they're twisted pairs. We can see which white wire runs with which colored wire, and then figure out who's who. Who's Tom, Dick, and Harry here? There we go. Just like that. There's our white and brown, and white and purple. So those are our two networks that are broken right now. Whatever one runs white and brown and white and purple, which according to our diagram, white with purple runs the AC amplifier, and white with downtown brown runs the steering sensor. No, idiot. Wrong side of the diagram. We're at junction 69er. White and purple. White and purple just goes from junction to junction. And then that would drop out for drive control ECU and combination meter. White pink, white green, yes. White purple, yes. What's between pink and green? Huh, this has an extra. I think my wire diagram might be wrong because this white with brown should run the steering sensor. Interesting. But in either case, with the white and purple here being broke, that is the wires that come from the other, that E97. Yep, okay. So look at that, folks. We use logical deduction and we've arrived. However, we're screwed because, like I say, the mice chewed this one off tight, tiger tight. I wonder if Wilbert's U-Polar Bath has one of these that we could just rob this connector out of. Be a lot easier. Then we can pop a couple pins out of it. Hopefully, those are tiny freaking pins. That's the only way we're gonna fix it. I mean, theoretically, we can just twist. We can hook these two white wires together and just hook them up. It's all the same. Like I say, the only time that'll screw you is for diagnostics. But I don't know. It's not gonna hurt anything to do that. I suppose we can, just for demonstration purposes, right? Wink, wink. Let's go get some strippers, boys. I'm gonna chop it off. Hey, what do you want me to do? Chop it off? That's what I always ask Mrs. O. I said, quit chasing me with that thing. Oh man, these wire strippers do not go fine enough. I just gotta hold them on their edge a little bit here. Come on. Okay. Well, good enough for what we have to do for demonstration purposes only. Well, yeah. Quit pissing around with it there, fella. I want to twist these ones together. I got a little bit of the insulation sticking into this one. Well, for demonstration purposes only, we're going to twist our white wires together. Okay. Then we're going to come down here. This one we got to be a little more careful with. We're running out of wire here pretty quick. Okay, we've got that wire exposed. You've been exposed. I'm going to plug it back in. I might have to look back at my diagram. I swear that thing was gray, but then again, I didn't really look. I just assumed when I saw it was 22 pins. Hook that one on there. And we're going to hook that one on there. And I think our meter's still hooked up over on the other side. Kumbaya, baby! Let's grab our meter here. Let's turn it on. Oh, look at that. 120 ohms now. You ready? Watch. Unhook this. Guess what's going to happen? Oh, are you sure you want to exit? No, I'm not. 33,000 ohms. Hook it back up. 120. 120 plus 120 is 60. Only in the automotive world. Let's grab our little praying mat and come over here. We should be good as gold now. It's gold! Set this back down here. Let me set you guys down. Yank that out. Grab my comb. E96. How does that go? Plug that back in. Oops. Now if we take our wires here, we come back to, hey Bobby! 6 and 14, we should have 60 ohms now. Oh, 60.9er. And now technically, where's our wire here? It's all we need is more wires, dude. If we plug this in. Okay, plug that in. Wow, this is getting crazy. Let me move you folks. Got a lot of wires plugged in here. We'll stop that because see, this is what we got going on. We're gonna go back here. Yeah, now we're sure we want to exit. No. I want to go to diagnostics. Okay. Any reason we can't turn the key on? That's our connection already. Nope. Our key is on. And now we should be able to go to fault scan and we should have modules online. Oh yeah. They're not happy, but they're online. Let's see who's got codes in them. This is exciting. This is exciting. Wow. Did it take that long to scan when it worked? Let's go to report. It's probably gonna be a bunch of nonsense we gotta erase. Control module performance. Steering angle incomplete. Lost the comm with a bunch of stuff. Control module offline, all that stuff. We're just gonna quick erase it because we're gonna have to go through and probably have to quick erase it again here. Give it a minute and then we'll go. Whoa. A permanent DTC is present in a vehicle only when its fault does not reoccur after several trips. I understand. 2012. Yeah, this would have permanent codes, wouldn't it? Yeah, you're right. You're right, computer. So 2010 and newer are going to have mode 10 data, which is your permanent codes. P607 permanently. Input signal permanently. So your 607, that's our area code. You know that? Hi, kitty. Let's see, cat distracted me there for a minute. Okay, so yeah, so we should be good. It should start and run with no engine light on now. Can we start it? All right. And, oh, our tachometer works now. That's good. All right, so that's it. Let's take our key out. Sit that down. Now let's go over here and talk. There's going to be some people that are going to freak out here. What are you about to do, Erico? Some of you know about what's about to go down. What's about to go down is me not going down to Wilbert's and looking for a connector to get a single pin from. What Erico does is he looks at the car and says, is the juice really worth the squeeze? AKA, do we really need to do this proper? This is proper in the sense that once you plug this in, all the white wires are hooked together anyways, and all the colored wires are hooked together. So it doesn't really matter if I hook it like this. The only disadvantage is when somebody wants to do some pinpoint network testing, which they're going to come to this connector and do it anyways, just like we were going to. And then they're going to come here and see it and be like, what mother effer did this? Cut. And then they'll make their tests. So, and chances are, I mean, there's no shops around here that are going to be doing it other than mine. I don't want to sound like a jerk, but if this lady's local, if this becomes a problem, it'll just become my problem in the future, in which case I'll have the memory of doing this, or I'll at least rediscover that I did and be like, what mother? Oh, wait a minute, that was me. Long story short, we're going to get a piece of wire and we're going to solder it on here, and then we're going to move on with our life. Let's see, look out, I got me a 20 gauge. Got a piece of white 20 gauge. I probably shouldn't have said that about other shops not being able to fix it, but so I take that back. I shouldn't be a jerkhole. Dang it, I still didn't grab the correct pair of strippers. This is like, let me go get the right pair. This is like 24 gauge or something. So these ones go down to 22. So let's see. No, it's smaller than that. Let me try my autos. I don't know if the autos will strip anything this tiny. Oh, look at that. They do. They do. We're gonna have these guys shake hands here. Do the handshake. This wire is too thin to do, oh, you know what you call it there. The stuff that pisses people off. The butt connectors. So we're going to use some solder. We'll break a piece off there. See some 60-40 rosin core. Ooh, you're hot. Oh. We'll stick that right under there. Thin wire solders very quickly. Got us a piece of heat shrink. The solder job looks good. I just like saying solder with an L. Us Americans usually don't pronounce the L. Not sure why. We just don't. Alright, we're going to leave that alone. Let that cool down. I got to go help another guy here real quick. We're going to shut off our Weller. This is my Weller little gas torch. Handy bit of kit. We'll stick our solder up here. I'll be right back. There, all done. Was helping a guy beat the man. Guy with a Buick Envision or Encore, them little junker 1.4s or whatever they are. It's got 199,000 original turbo. Can you believe that? That blows my mind, but it is. And he's got your classic 420 popping up. So he just did a tank of the Cataclean. Ooh, look at that. I got a sliver. You ready? Got it. A tank of the Cataclean. Full drive cycle. No codes. Isn't that great? I find that the Cataclean, I'm not a big advocate of mechanics in a can. As a general rule, they don't work, but I find that the Cataclean on situations like this, guys, where he's had a light kind of, you know, lights on, lights off, lights on, lights off. A borderline failure case when you look in the mode 6 data and you see, I mean, this thing's just barely failing the oxygen storage capacity test. I find that those customers, if they do a Cataclean treatment, I guess if you will, I don't know if that's what you call it, that it works. And their light, in some cases, will stay off for several months, like 6 or 8 months, until it pops back on. In either case, it's enough to get them through inspection in this communist state that we live in. You know, because the car is not worth putting a converter on. You know, the converter's $3,000 or some crap from GM. You know, because we're forced to use CARB certified converters here in New York, so it really screws a lot of people. $25,000 fine if we get caught installing a federal converter in the PRNY. We get audited on our converter sales. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. Even when we sell our used ones, we got to have all the paperwork for the used ones that we sell, VIN numbers, customer numbers, all that stuff. Okay, that one's all good. We're gonna bring up our Shrinky Dink up here. Shrinky Dinks. Who remembers Shrinky Dinks? That's how you knew you grew up in the 80s. Maybe it was the 90s. Shrinky Dinks. Sounds like a Subaru. Alright, we're going to let that baby cool off. And that, folks, is pretty much that. I left it long because it's going to be easier to tape up. You'll see, we're just going to put a couple little wraps of tape on there. We'll get our special tape, the Hondu tape. Part number is a 4019er 2317. It's your classic Honda rodent tape. People ask me all the time if I've heard of this stuff. Yes, the answer to that question is yes, I have. I always think it's pretty comical because it's got the pictures of the dead mice on it. I don't know why, but that gives me a chuckle. It's infused with some spicy spice. Some spicy spice for the mice. See, now we're able to fold that over. Don't fold it too tight because you'll kink the electricity off. I'm kidding. You can't kink off electricity. Now we're gonna put a little wrap of the mouse tape on there. Well, I was gonna trim off my tail because I left it a little long. That's okay. We'll put a little wrap there, and I'll get one more wrap down here towards the end. That way, if those little pricks come back, hopefully they won't eat it right at the connector. But isn't it crazy what the mice will do? That they can come in your car and chew one little wire. That little guy is done for. Take out an entire network. Some people will argue and say that's why I drive my car from 1918 or whatever year they say. That's why I won't drive none of this newfangled electric crap. Well, guess what? I can take your old-fashioned points car and I can go cut one wire on that and make your whole car not run too. However, you can probably find it a little quicker than something like this, but needless to say, one mouse with one wire can make one car not work all the time, every time. So there's that. There's our fix. We're gonna call it a day. Rodent tape, not a sponsor. I just saved one of my Scotch 33 cases to put that in. Capsaicin oil, is that what they call it? Capsaicin oil, the hot stuff, the stuff that makes your peppers hot. Capsaicin, I don't remember. I'm not a linguist, or whatever you would call it. Put that footwell there back together. Of course, we already cleared the codes. Starts and runs. Tachometer works again. That's where I store all my hopes and dreams. So we'll leave it at that, folks. Pretty easy fix. Hopefully you guys understood the approach that I chose to use. And I'm hoping that by looking at that wiring diagram that we printed out, you could see where we were going. Sometimes that's the easiest way for me to do it instead of, doing like screen recorders and stuff, which I know is a little easier to follow along because I can pop it up on the screen. But sometimes time doesn't allow that because these are just real life repairs. What else? Oh, one thing I do want to say is that I often see in the comment section people are just singing my praises, stroking my ego, if you will, saying, that's amazing, that's a miracle. What we did on this, let's be 100% honest here, is not a miracle. It wasn't an intermittent, difficult problem to find. We were dealing with two wires that we already knew were broken from the beginning. When we made our test, we knew that there was, either a failed module or, an open circuit, which was most likely the case because we saw the mouse stuff. So what we did isn't a miracle. It doesn't make me the super mechanic or, anything like that. We have good information. We have service info, which in the U.S. is available to everybody. I don't know outside the U.S. if it is or not, but we have the Right to Repair Act. So everybody that's watching here in the U.S. has availability to all the information I'm using, and it's quite affordable because there's DIY versions of Mitchell and AllData and MotoLogic and Identifix. If you want, aftermarket repair info like what we use, or you can just get it right from, in this case, right from Toyota. You can get Toyota tips, get a short-term subscription, which is very affordable, and then you have factory service info. Same stuff they have at the dealership. Boom, factory programming information, or the ability to factory program, service info, service bulletins, everything, wiring diagrams, the actual Toyota stuff, for a couple day subscription if you need it. And then, so there's that. That's super important because I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know where those connectors are and what colors what, who lives where. I don't know any of that. I'm not a super genius. I just look it up. Don't memorize anything you can look up. That's my motto. I do have a basic understanding of how control area networks work, which is just needed for something like this, but you could look it up too. That's all in service info. That's where I found which modules had resistors in it because they have articles on how to check the network for open, how to check the network for a short. Granted, it's going to take you on a big, long, roundabout path of hopelessness, so it's best if you can devise your own plan. And that brings me into the second part of it, is having a diagnostic plan, a diagnostic thought process, an analytical way of thinking to say, if this, then this, and how are we gonna beat this thing down in the fastest way possible. What makes the best sense? What's the easiest stuff to get to? That's something a little bit harder to teach, and I don't really know how to do that. I don't know if it's something that you're born with or whatever, but some people have a really difficult time, devising a plan and sticking to the plan and not getting, sidetracked. So there are some classes like I've been to where they teach, a diagnostic thought process, which is pretty helpful. So there's ways that you can learn it, I suppose. But I'm not probably the best person to teach that. I don't know. Whatever. Tell me whatever you think in that comment section. Questions, comments, concerns. Find us on Insta, folks. Facebook, dropping some videos on the Facebook now. Some of my old stuff from way back, from the Wayback Machine. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.